Well, good morning, and how nice to see you. Great room full of people. Hooray. Okay, I've got 20 minutes, and what I'm going to try and do in 20 minutes is to take all the learning that I've learned in the last 6 years for the 200 companies I've worked with, okay? And you're going to get a distilled version of it for all of you guys. Okay, the other thing that I want to know is my colleague Alex and I are going to be here all morning, and we're going to park ourselves, hopefully, if WeWork don't mind, in a corner. And if anybody wants to come and chat and ask questions, because that's what our lives are spent doing, answering questions from the creative industries. Okay, those 200 companies that I work with spread from a toy shop that is 130 years old in London across the creative, cultural and tech sector. So I work with startups, I work with tech companies, I work with dance schools, all sorts of different things. So what we're going to look at this morning is how to work bravely. Okay, that's me. Right, away we go. And we're going to do it in 4 easy steps, okay, because we've got 20 minutes. Okay, the really, really first thing that I try and help companies do is to really understand what they do and what they do in the economy. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind at all, and this underpins everything I do with ad agencies, with design companies, with everything, is that creativity drives value. There is, I won't be gainsaid on that at all. If you look at brands like whether it's H&M, whether it's Topshop, whether you look at some of the companies quoted in the city, if you unpack what they do, a lot of their value stems from creativity, from you guys, okay? It's you that are creating that. The second point about understanding that really matters is that creativity, what you do, is an asset. It is not a service. It builds assets. Who here earns their income by selling a day at a time as a service? Everybody put up their hands. I do, largely. Okay? Oh, not as many as I thought. But actually, creativity is seen so often as a service. If you can help your clients understand it's an asset, if you can move it off their operational expenditure into their capital expenditure, then there is much greater value created from them, and you are helping to create that value, so why shouldn't you be paid and recognized for it? One of the other things that often working with creative companies that I see again and again and again is they allow their clients to put them in the role of children. They are seen as, you come to us because we've got the money, we've got the power, and we're going to talk about both money and power shortly. But what you have to do is shift that thinking away from a child relationship to make yourself, position yourself as a partner at the table. And there are lots of ways you can do that. We'll go into some of them a bit later. But actually being that partner role, suddenly you are actually, you sit up straighter, your shoulders are squarer, and actually you go in there with into those meetings with a completely different mindset. Okay, I am welcomed in the door by every single client I work with, because that is I refuse to be a child to them. Okay, right, so we've done a little bit about understanding. Okay, the next thing that's really fundamentally important in the creative industries and in this sector is passion. When you started your business, or when you start doing what you love doing around your creativity, you've got this huge, big passion for what you do. That's why so many of us do what we do. It's why I do what I do. I really love working with you guys. I don't have to work with brands. I don't have to work with purchasing directors or arseholes or anyone like that. I work with you guys, and I'm passionate about it. And what I see in organisations is a real creative passion. But then what happens? Oh my God, that passion diminishes because you lose sight of your core focus because you're having to run a business. You might have limited experience in running a business or delivering creativity. You might have to put your heart and soul on the line every single time you pitch work, and that's painful, okay? You might have a singular business model. and that can be difficult. You might have one big client, and that can be even more difficult. You might be on a model where actually you just feel that it's really, really thankless. You're a hamster on the wheel the whole time, and that's horrible too. You know, you finish one project and you haven't done the marketing, so you don't know where the next project's coming from. Okay, so the solution to this, or it's not a solution, but it's a tip, and you have this in the back of your mind the whole time, is write yourself 2 lists. List A. Okay, write yourself a list of any client, or really not any client, but any agency as well, anyone who's ever paid you since you were about 15. Okay, and if you run a company, get all the board to do it together, and the list will go on a long time. Look at that list. Nobody else is ever in the world going to have the same list as you. Okay, it's an agglomeration of all your experience, of those people who have paid you. And then what you do with that list is you regroup them into very unique sectors. I did this exercise with a workshop I did at YCN in London earlier on this week. And we got everybody to list 2 clients, their first 2 clients or whatever. And everybody looked at the group of names I'd written up, and it came up with the usual suspects. So, you know, we had automotive in there, we had retail, we had a bit of fashion and everything like that. And I just went, yeah, same old guys, come on. Regroup them into really different sectors. So I said, how about we look at kickback time? Okay, so if we look at kickback time could have included Google. It could have included a makeup brand that somebody had focused on. It could have included Puma. Because what kickback time and that sort of sector, that if you repackage everything, is actually it allows you to really, really think through your experience and on those clients in completely different ways and regroup them and recognise that you have a talent in sectors that you didn't expect. And it's a really, really quick and easy way to sort of rekindle that passion and allow you to go after different sectors by thinking about totally unique groupings. Do it with some friends over a bottle of wine. It's way more fun that way. Okay, your list B, okay, in this area of looking at your passions and what you've done so far, is list everything you've ever been paid to do. Okay? And that means pretty much everything. You know, if I said to you, one of my clients in list A was Harvey Nichols, the store, most people would assume that was, you know, I was doing something to do with fashion. Well, actually, I didn't. They had lost their archive, and I helped them work out where their archive was, but I also helped them write a TV strategy. Now, when you pull those things away from each other, you put Harvey Nichols in one list and what you were paid to do in another list. That second list, are you offering all of those things to all of your clients? Because you have, just as you have expertise in interesting sectors in list 1, you have expertise that you forget about as you move on through your career in list 2. Go and unpack that, because those are part of who you are, and they are part of your company, your intellectual assets, okay? And we're going to come to intellectual assets in a minute. Okay, so do these lists, and you will really, really be surprised as to how much in your career you've forgotten you know how to do, okay? So go do it and really, really build on that passion. If you hated it, cross it off the list and don't ever do it again. Okay, this is a company I work with, tiny little dance studio based in a part of London. They didn't want to replicate doing more bar studios exactly the same. Ooh, has that gone funny? No, that's okay. So what we did was we did the exercise of who had ever paid them. And we discovered that they had got 2 gold-winning Olympic women's teams training in their studio odd whiles. So what we did was this little studio, which is probably about this space, we developed an elite athlete training program in this little bar studio. And the only athletes that big Olympic experienced Olympic teams really, really respect are ballet dancers. So what we do is we are approaching a number of international level ballet dancers who are finishing the end of their careers, and we are helping them train to deliver elite bar training programs to teams such as those going for the Olympics. We're also looking at training rowers, and because of where they're positioned, some of the British rugby teams and things like that. So there are all sorts of things in your back catalogue. Okay, the next thing, power. Ooh. Okay, I love this one because you start, we've seen this diagram before, you know what's coming. You start your business thinking you've got lots of power and it's going to give you lots of freedom. And what happens? Ooh, the power shrinks and you haven't got so much as you thought. Okay, we've spoken about child and partner, so we know about that. The other thing that's interesting about power is, you know, you often don't have ownership of what you do. It gets taken away from you, okay? Often the power, the balance of power sitting in the creative industries is very, very fragile. You don't want to upset a client or who you're doing work for because they might not, you know, there are lots of competitors out there and they might give it to someone else. You don't want to rock the boat. I hear that every single day. And also what happens is lawyers who write contracts for you, whether it's your contract or your client's contract, you know, a contract is a defensive document. You know, contracts are not very nice things. So how can you shift power? Because as we know, creativity drives value, okay? How can you shift power so that you are a partner and that there's a much even more balanced level of power in that relationship? And you as the creatives have some of that power. Well, one of the first things you've really got to do is recognise you're giving it away. Until you realise that actually when you're working with somebody, a lot of it is about giving away your power, giving away your ability. Just stop giving it away, okay? The second thing, and we are going to talk about this again in a minute, learn about intellectual property. Most people, when I start saying, oh, I'm going to come and talk to you about IP, quietly curl up and die in the corner because nobody understands it. And it's, ooh, and this is buzzing at me. Nobody understands it, okay? Well,
more than 20 minutes now.
Oh, has it gone that quickly? No. Okay, great. Okay, well, that's fine, because we're going to... Okay, I really, really want you to understand IP. Okay, and we're just going to read this through very quickly. Look at IP, because the international property, World International Property definition of IP is creations of the mind, okay, that enables you guys, the creatives, to earn from it. Okay, so you should own the IP. Now, this is where power sits in your relationship with the client. Reframe the power in your website. You're always giving it away in your website. The same in your creds. You know, become partners, not children. Rework your contracts, and anyone who wants to sit and talk afterwards, more than welcome to talk this through. Is an Australian company owned by M&C Saatchi. We put in their contract, we completely reframed their contract about talking about getting permission to do different things. And the final thing is money, okay? You think you're going to earn lots of money when you start your own business, and look, that's what happens. You're on a service model, you over-deliver, limited experience and knowledge, and you're frightened about talking about money. Okay, so let's talk about it differently. There are three ways here. Everyone earns project fees. Some people earn commission on it. Commission's about risk. Always charge commission. Get rewarded for the success you have. You know, think about what IP you're giving to the client and see if you can retain it and say to them, we're going to charge you a license fee and a usage fee. Or take a stake in the venture. There's so many different ways. I use 52 different revenue models. There are 52 different revenue models that I've come across the creative industries. If you've got mates in different creative industries, ask them how they talk money. We found 4 new revenue streams for this one company in one day. This is another one where we came up with completely new revenue streams for them. So, you have opportunities in all these spaces. Don't throw them away. Every single one of these can allow you to think differently, work differently, and deal differently. Okay? 9 new revenue streams from one company here that we took exactly that approach. So, this is my final slide for you. Okay? This is what you need to do, the 4 steps to being braver. Okay? So that's me. And if anybody wants to download, there's a Creative Guide to IP on my website. So just go there and you can take a download. Okay? So thank you very much. Go do.